What's going on, guys? It's your boy Xric. In today's video, I have the most helpful Apex tip video you have ever watched in your life. I guarantee it. Now, first off, you may be thinking, but sir, what qualifications do you have to give us these tips of advice? Well, first, let me say this. I have just hit Diamond for the first time in Apex. So that's the level of play that I'm at. But now you might be thinking to yourself, but sir, that is simply mediocre. There's far more diamonds besides yourself, and masters and predators, and to that I say, fuck thee. No, I'm just kidding. Here's the thing. I've been playing Apex ranked for 2 seasons, and I am diamond. Now, what that should say to you is that I learned how to be good at this game like fucking Usain Bolt. And when I say learned how to be good at this game, I mean learned. Because if you play Apex, you know this game is extremely complicated. And there is a ton of stuff you need to learn to be good at it. And that's where I come in. Because I'm pretty shit at most games. And I recognized when I started getting a little bit better at Apex, when I started playing in Season 9, again, didn't start playing ranked until Season 10, that this game was going to take a lot of game knowledge to be good at. So what did I do? I watched hundreds of Apex tip videos, and I played a ton. I have already over 1,000 hours on the game. And so because of all of these things, I feel that I am one of the most qualified people to give you tips on how to reach diamond rank in Apex and instantly become a better player. So here are 11 tips in Season 11. Number 1. Do not be afraid to play ranked. Now, I understand there's lots of people who just like playing pubs or arenas. If you like playing arenas, you're kind of weird. There are some people that just don't have any interest in ranked. They play Apex fairly casually, and they just kind of like playing the Battle Royale, and that's about it. But if you're someone who is kind of intrigued by ranked, or maybe you feel intimidated by it, or you want to play it, but you just don't understand the ranking system, then I am here to help. So let's get into our next tip. Understanding the ranking system and how to play in the ranks that lead up to diamond. Now, this kind of ties back into my old tip, but first, if you feel intimidated about playing ranked, honestly, and you want to, just do it. Bronze and silver rank pretty much play exactly like pubs does. There really isn't that much differentiation in the skill of players you're going to run into and how the game unfolds in bronze and silver than what you're used to. Okay, but understanding the ranking system, let's define RP. RP is the points that you earn. It stands for like ranked points probably. The points that you earn that are going to get you your rank. Now, KP. KP is kill points. Kill points is your kills and assists combined. So in a ranked game, I have 3 kills and I have 1 assist. Quiz, how much KP do I have? 4. I have 4 KP. So what's the max? The max is 7. So if you have 7 or more kills and assists combined, then you can't get any more extra RP from getting any more kills. So you should really just go for placement. And that's another way that you gain RP is by kill points and placement. And your kill points are multiplied by your placement. So your kills are worth more the longer you make it into the game. So if you drop super hot and you get 7 kills right off the bat, you're at max KP, and then you die to the next squad that pulls up on you, those kills are worth way less than they would have been if you made it into the top 5 or won the game. So because of that, placement is a little bit more important than KP. The max RP that you can get is 275. You get 100 points for getting the dub and 175 points for having max KP. So that's 25 points per KP. But they're only worth that much if you win the game. And that max RP is technically only for bronze, because in silver, gold, platinum, and up, you start out the game with a negative amount of RP. In silver, it's negative 12, doesn't really matter. Gold, things are starting to get serious, minus 24. Platinum, minus 36. Alright, that's a decent chunk. And then diamond, minus 48. Master and pred, minus 60. Now, probably the most efficient way to gain RP is to land, maybe get some early KP, or if there's a team that lands with you, or try to find a third party and get some kills, and then try to make it, figure out where the circle is going to end, and just play for the end game, and you'll get more KP if you end up winning the game. The next tip, let's talk about ratting. Is ratting even worth it? Now, ratting is essentially like you're by yourself because your teammates freaking died. Now, what do? Do you fight the team that tried to kill them? Do you go back and try to get their banners? Or do you freaking camp and try to get like second place? Now, it kind of depends on the situation. And there's really only two situations that you should ever rat in. The first situation is if your team has KP. If you and your teammates have, 2 to 4 KP, then I think ratting can actually be pretty worth it. But if your team has no KP, then there really is no reason to rat. You should fight for those banners or try to fight that whole team yourself, because you're just wasting time you could have been in your next game gaining RP. I also understand ratting if you're like Platinum 1 and about to hit Diamond. This happened to me. I was 15 RP away from Diamond 4 and my teammates died. So I decided instead of risking it, I was just going to rat it out, and I ended up with -6 RP instead of the -36, which would have really hurt. Next tip, this is where things get juicy. What legend should I play? Are you worried that the legend you're playing really sucks? I'm just kidding. Anybody can be good with any legend. But once you get into Platinum especially, you need to think about this more strategically. You should probably have 3 legends that you're extremely comfortable with that are good in different situations. You should have like an aggressive movement legend, so like a Wraith, an Octane, a Horizon, a Pathfinder, only if you're really good with him because he is huge. And second, a Recon legend. This doesn't necessarily mean someone who can just scan people, but someone who can scan beacons, who has that Recon passive. This will help you get the placement that you need by getting good positioning in the final rings. Next is a support legend like Gibby or Loba or maybe Lifeline. But guys, service announcement. If you're playing ranked by yourself and you think that you're doing your teammates a great service by playing Lifeline, please only play her if you are really confident that you're not going to get knocked first on your team. If you're playing Lifeline aggressive and getting knocked first, which for some reason is so many of my random teammates in Platinum, then you're really just being a hindrance to your team. If you're playing someone like Lifeline, you need to always try to be the last person alive on your team. You need to be bringing up the rear and not out in the front. And you need to stick with your team. Now this leads into team comp. This means considering all the legends that your team is using as a whole. You should really start thinking about this when you get into Platinum and thinking about what legends complement each other. You can also do this as a solo player. For example, in the video in the background, which was my first Diamond win, my 2 random teammates selected very sweaty movement legends. So I picked Bloodhound because I figured if they're going to play super aggressive, I'm going to try to give them as much information as fights as possible so they don't get themselves into bad situations and they can get those kills a little bit easier. And it worked. We ended up winning the game, as you'll see. Sometimes you pick your legend first and you just don't know. So you might want to play a legend who can overall be fairly useful to your team. A legend like Valk, Gibby, Wraith, Octane, Bloodhound, Seer, Loba, Ashe. These are all great legends if you're solo queuing and ranked. Next, you need to understand your role and have defined roles in your team, especially if you're 3 stacking or playing with a full squad of like your friends and stuff. This is super important and something that you see in Diamond rank and above and into the ALGS professional Apex. There's a lot of different roles, but I'm going to focus on 3 of them that you really should be having. An entry fragger, which should be the most aggressive player on your team. The player that's going to play smart and he's going to try to get those knocks and really put the pressure on the other team. Next is an IGL, which is an in-game leader. You need one person who's calling the shots, someone who knows the game, has a lot of game and map knowledge, and that way you don't have all of your teammates debating what you want to do every 5 seconds. You just listen to one person, and if things don't work out, then it's on that person. So it should be someone who's comfortable doing this. Next is an anchor or a support character, and you really want a Gibby for this. There's a reason that 97% of all Apex Pro teams have a Gibby on their team. The Dome is just one of the best abilities in the game, and if you think you fit this playstyle as an anchor or support, then you need to learn to play Gibby. So go watch some videos on him if you're not already comfortable playing him. But you should watch some videos on him anyway, because you probably aren't playing him to your full potential if you're stuck in gold. But to help you guys out a little bit more, here are 3 team comps that I suggest that work extremely well. The first one is Wraith, Valk, and Gibby. Second, Wraith, Bloodhound, and Gibby. And lastly, Valk, Caustic, and Gibby. Now you can make some adjustments on these, throw in a Loba, Octane, Seer, Horizon, Bangalore, Ashe, etc., wherever they fit. But those 3 team comps are extremely solid. Next tip, comms. You need to start practicing this immediately, no matter what level of play you're at, if you're playing pubs or ranked, but this is especially huge in Platinum. You need to stop saying things like, I cracked one. There is some more information that you can be telling your team that's going to help them. So instead of saying, oh, I cracked the Bloodhound, say, I hit 118 blue on Bloodhound. So they know how much damage you hit them for, what their armor is, and what legend that was. Communicate when you're pushing or when you're trying to push, or when you're healing so your teammates can stall, or if they decide to push, they know that you're going to be a little bit late to that push because you're busy hitting a bat. You should also be paying attention to what your teammates are doing. Like, if you get a knock and you see that both of your teammates are hitting a bat, you should probably wait until they're finished to push. Or that 3v2 advantage that you have over that team is going to turn into a 2v2 really quickly. Now you may be thinking, this sounds like a lot of shit to think about in the midst of battle, and it is. But start trying to do this and eventually it's going to become pretty natural. Next tip, what guns should I use? Now, this kind of depends on the map and the meta, but just kind of like with the legends, you should have like 6 to 10 guns that you're very comfortable using at any given time. For ranked, you really need a medium to long range gun and a close range monster. Like I said, it depends on the map and your individual skill with various weapons. My goated setup for Stormpoint was the Triple Take and the R9, and for World's Edge, it's usually the R301 and the Mastiff or the Volt. Do not neglect warming up with the weapons you're most likely to use in the firing range and in arenas before you play ranked. And make sure to use them with and without attachments. Next, where should I drop in ranked? Now, I think we all struggle with this one, especially me, but I still have some great tips for it. There's no ideal drop spot, but you probably want to drop somewhere that's kind of on the edge of the map where only one or no other teams are going. You need to drop somewhere with enough loot for you and your team, have a good setup to fight that other team that landed with you, or go take a third party somewhere else. You should never land somewhere with more than one other team landing there, so you need to dynamically drop. You need to be looking how many teams are dropping where you are and where teams are dropping nearby. I recommend for ranked picking 3 places that you can consistently drop at so you know where the loot is and you feel comfortable fighting there, and maybe also 1 sleeper pick. For World's Edge, this was Skyhook, Countdown, Lava Fissure area, Climatizer, Big Mod or Lava City, and my sleeper pick was Staging because sometimes I can get really good third parties over at Landslide, Harvester, or Thermal Station. Next tip, do not get discouraged by small RP gains. And this one's pretty straightforward. Anytime you're gaining RP, you ain't losing it, so don't get discouraged. 3 games where you only earn like 30 RP, that's still almost 100 RP across those 3 games. Anytime you're gaining RP, you're doing something right, and you might just need to focus on placement a little bit more. Next, armor swaps. You need to be swapping your armor whenever you can and whenever applicable in fights. And to do this effectively, you need to be making mental notes about where armor swaps are. During or entering a fight, if you see some armor in a bin, you need to make a mental note. Okay, there's an armor swap right there. Or there's death boxes on the ground in front of you. Okay, I can swap armor right there. Think about this for your enemies too. If your teammate pushes and dies, but says that he got one of the enemies down to 1 shot, but then he gets full killed, that enemy is no longer 1 shot because I guarantee it, he armor swapped with your teammate. So keep this in mind in fights because it can save you a lot of time and hopefully help you to not get pulled up on when you're trying to use a bat. Next, know when to take a break. If you play 2 or 3 games in a row and you're seriously losing RP every single game, then you should probably take a break from playing ranked. It might just not be your day, and that's fine. Play some pubs, chill out, but if you keep losing RP in a row like that, you're going to start panicking in fights and rushing the process, and it's not worth it. Now, I have one more bonus tip for you guys, and I think this one is the most important and the one that helped me get better at Apex the fastest, which is watch more Apex on YouTube or whatever. Watching people play Apex who are better than you can teach you so much about how to be a better player and increase your game knowledge. Seeing fights and situations unfold and paying attention to how good players go about dealing with them is so helpful. Some players simply don't know enough about the game, the maps, the legends, you name it. They get into bad situations in ranked and get mad because they don't know what they're supposed to do to win when they're at a serious disadvantage. Now, I'm not saying that every situation or fight is winnable, but there is always something you could have done differently, and sometimes even making the best decision still results in you dying. But the more you know and the more you see good players win fights in situations like this, the more you will feel comfortable, in control, and equipped in your fights, and you'll have options you never knew existed. Here are some channels that I recommend checking out if you're serious about upping your Apex game. These aren't players that are light years ahead of you with godlike aim and movement. They're very smart players who understand the game very well and above all else, play extremely consistently. These channels are The Gaming Merchant, Tim Provisions, Sweatband TV, Mangoes and Trees, and Simply Ashton, just to name a few. I also recommend watching the ALGS, or Competitive Apex. Watch the highlights and matches, see what the best of the best Apex players play like against each other, and you're definitely going to learn something. And that's all for the video, folks. Hopefully you guys enjoyed, and my next video should be probably like a funny or awesome highlights video, something like that. But if you enjoyed this video, please subscribe and like the video. It takes 2 seconds and it's gonna help this video reach more people who are hard stuck just like you. I'm kidding, but seriously, I hope these tips helped, and I hope they help you become a better player just like they helped me become a better player. I also hope you guys enjoyed the awesome diamond win in the background, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.